Hey there everyone, welcome back to Utility Sports. Really excited for this video, a video I record every single year. And the reason I do that is there are so many misconceptions, so many questions, so many comments. Really quick, if you do have any questions or comments or concerns about the NBA Draft Lottery, you want to know a little bit more about this or anything that isn't very clear to you during the video, be sure to comment right now down below. I'm going to be reading all those comments. I want to answer up any of those questions, clear up any confusion. I'm trying to be as thorough and clear as I can be in this video, but sometimes it's hard to interpret without asking a question live. So ask your questions right now. I'll be responding to them. Thanks all and enjoy the video. Regarding the NBA Draft Lottery, and I don't think there's a great source to understand how it best works. So that's my purpose here on YouTube for this video, is to explain the NBA Draft Lottery, and we're going to use the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery odds to do so. We're going to talk about which teams have which odds, what does the actual draft lottery process look like, how do they draw the ping pong balls, this, that, and everything else you need to know. If you guys do enjoy the content here at Utility Sports, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe as well. Again, a lot of hard work goes into these videos to help best educate you. Now, the biggest misconception, this is what I have to start with in these videos every single year when I record on this because it's such a huge misconception. The NBA Draft Lottery isn't for all 14 picks in the lottery. It isn't for 12 picks, 10 picks, anything like that. The NBA Draft Lottery is only for the first four selections. Repeat it after me. The NBA Draft Lottery is only for the first four selections, picks 1, 2, 3, and 4. The rest of the first round picks, picks number 5 through 30, are then based on reverse standings of the remaining teams that were not drawn in the lottery. And by reverse standings, I mean the worst teams would have the higher picks. You'll see exactly how that would play out. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But the biggest thing to remember here, the top 4 picks are the only picks decided by the NBA Draft Lottery. There are also tiebreakers. There are a few teams here this year that have tied up records going into the NBA Draft Lottery odds. The tiebreaker is decided by a coin flip. On the screen here, you see the Los Angeles Lakers and Chicago Bulls. That is a historic example where a tiebreaker did decide which of those two teams got the higher selection. That is an important thing to note, and we'll talk about some teams that do have tiebreakers that will get settled at a later date. The first couple teams I want to talk about here on the actual 2025 NBA Draft odds, which, disclaimer here, this is recorded prior to the NBA play-in. So, Chicago, Sacramento, Dallas, Miami, those teams there, 11 through 14, might be flipped around. The first team let's talk about is the Utah Jazz. They have the worst record in the NBA. They have the best odds in the NBA for the first overall pick, second overall pick, so on and so forth, all the way down to the 5th overall pick. Now, you might be saying, why is there a gap at pick 6, pick 7, pick 8, so on and so forth for Utah? The reason, remember, only the first 4 picks are done by the lottery. So if you look, for example, at Brooklyn, they have a 0% chance of having the 5th overall pick because they have the 6th worst record in the league, and the top 4 picks are only done by the lottery. So they have no percent chance at getting pick number 5. And for a team like Utah, who had the worst record in the league, there is a 0% chance that they are pick 6, 7, 8, 9, so on and so forth. I hope that makes more sense to you, especially after clearing up the misconception around the NBA Draft Lottery. The lowest the Utah Jazz can pick in 2025 is the 5th overall pick, where you can tell they have a 47.9% chance of having that pick. Basically, it's a near 50-50 odds that they are drawn in the lottery or not. 52% chance that they have their lottery combination drawn, a 47.9% chance that they do not, which would put them at pick number 5. Another team I want to talk about here, at number 9, the Phoenix Suns. You see their numbers in red here. The reason that their numbers are in red is because they owe this pick unprotected to the Houston Rockets. So if you're a Rockets fan, pick number 9 is yours, and you have a 3.8% chance at the number 1 pick. Now notice, that 3.8, that is a tiebreaker with Portland. The Trailblazers and Suns finished with the exact same record. Typically, the 9th best odds in the NBA Draft Lottery have a 4.5% chance at the first overall pick. But since 9 and 10 are tied here, they actually split the odds between each other. Now, Phoenix, since there's a tiebreaker here, could technically flip to the 10th odds. But with all things considered with what we currently know now, Phoenix will have basically a 3.8% chance at the first pick, which would then convey unprotected to the Houston Rockets, of course. As you can tell, Washington's second worst team in the league, their odds are anywhere from first through six is where they can land in the draft, and they have a very good chance at having a top 4 pick. As you can tell, the exact same odds as Utah. Same is true for Charlotte. The 3 worst teams in the NBA all have the same odds at a top 4 pick. If you go back to when the NBA changed their lottery odds specifically from the 25% chance that the worst team in the league used to have at the first overall pick, they, of course, shifted that to de-incentivize tanking, to disincentivize teams from trying to be the worst team in the league, and especially down the stretch of the season, trying to lose games intentionally. Now to the point where if you're one of the 3 worst teams, you have, equivalent odds to each other. And even the 4th worst team like New Orleans, they have a 12.5% chance. Philly has a 10.5% chance at having the top pick. So there's really not too drastic of a difference between being the worst team in the league and, for example, being the 4th, 5th, or 6th worst team in the league, as you can tell by the odds. One other thing that is worth discussing here, a couple of other teams that have lottery protections or different protections on their picks. Philadelphia, as you can tell, their pick, right now they're the top Sixers. Their pick is top 6 protected out to Oklahoma City this year from the Al Horford salary dump from a few years ago. If you look at their odds, there's a 26.7% chance they have pick 7, an 8.7% chance they have pick 8, and a 0.6% chance that they have pick 9. Now you might be saying, well, how would that happen? I thought you said only the top 4 picks were determined by lottery. That's exactly right. So let's say in this example that Toronto and San Antonio both jump up into the top 4 from 7 and 8, that would push the other teams down. So it would push Philadelphia down. It would push Brooklyn down a couple of spots because they were leapfrogged by Toronto and San Antonio into the top 4, which is why there is a likelihood or a real chance that Philadelphia's top 6 protected pick could still convey to Oklahoma City in either that 7th spot, which is again over a 26% chance, or even that 8th spot at about an 8.5% chance as well. Another example that I want to talk about is the Sacramento Kings. Their pick is owed to the Atlanta Hawks. Obviously, the play-in could shift this around a little bit depending on what happens, but right now they have a 97.6% chance to convey that pick to Atlanta, but there is about a 2.4% chance that they could keep that pick if they move up in the lottery. It's very unlikely. They only have a 0.5% chance of the first overall pick, but it definitely is worth mentioning. There are 14 ping pong balls. So now this is when we get into the, real nitty gritty about the NBA draft lottery. How does it work? There are 14 ping pong balls. Each ball has a numerical value between 1 and 14. Of course, there are no repeats. So there's a ball with the number 1 on it, a ball with the number 7 on it, a ball with the number 12 on it, a ball with the number 14 on it. As you can tell from the image here, each ball has its own individual number, and these ping pong balls are used in combinations. There are 1,001 different combinations, and this is where most of the questions and comments come in throughout the course of this video. By the way, if you do have any questions, please comment them down below. I will be responding to all questions and comments on this video to make sure you guys have the best information so you understand how this NBA draft lottery ultimately works. There is one null combination. People want to know why, what's the reason for that? To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know why the NBA has one null combination. They just do. If that one null combination gets drawn, it's basically a redo, a do-over. We'll talk about that more later. But the combinations are 4 numbers. So 4 balls will be drawn. Only the top 4 picks, remember, are defined by the lottery. So the remainder are done by standings. And each team has multiple different combinations. So, for example, if you look at Utah, who has that 14% chance of landing Cooper Flagg in that number 1 overall pick, 14% of 1,000 combinations is 140 combinations. And remember, there's 1,001 different combos, one null combination that doesn't count for any team. So out of the remaining 1,000 flat combinations, 14% of that would be 140. So if you look at a team like New Orleans, for example, 12.5% chance, that means they have 125 combinations, whereas a team like Sacramento with a 0.5% chance, clearly a much lower likelihood here of being drawn with only 5 combinations. So here's some examples. Again, these are just made up. I don't know what the actual combinations are going to look like. I don't really think anyone does until the day of the NBA draft lottery, when the teams get packets. They're handed out packets of what their lottery combinations are. So for example, the numbers drawn in this order, 1, 7, 13, and 4 could, for example, be the Utah Jazz. I don't know for sure if it would or wouldn't be, but in this theoretical example, that's what I've chosen. Whereas if just one number was different, instead of 1, 7, 13, 4, if it's 1, 9, 13, 4, it could be the Charlotte Hornets, for example. Or if that first number is different, if it's 6, 7, 13, 5, it could, for example, be the Washington Wizards. So obviously a lot can change throughout the course of this. There's so many different things, like for, the Phoenix pick that would convey to Houston, for example, there are 38 combinations. So just flying through each team, how many combinations do they have for the first pick? Just so everyone's on the same page, do it with me in your head. Utah has 140. The Wizards have 140. The Hornets have 140. The Pelicans 125. The 76ers 105. The Nets 90. Toronto 75. San Antonio 60. Phoenix 38. Portland 37. Obviously a tiebreaker there could shift those two. Miami with 20. Dallas and Chicago has a theoretical tiebreaker here with 13 and 12. Obviously that could flip and be reciprocal of what I just said. And then Sacramento has just 5. So those are how the combinations work. And again, just to break down the odds here, if you do the math here on that front row, that front column of odds, 140 plus 140 plus 140 plus 125 plus 105 plus 90 plus 75 plus 60 plus 38 plus 37 plus 20 plus 13 plus 12 plus 5. All those numbers added together from that first column equals 1,000. And then don't forget, you have that one null combination, which would be a do-over. So when it comes to the actual process here, all 14 ping pong balls that we talked about earlier are placed in the lottery machine, that little clear tube. The balls are then mixed for 20 seconds exactly. There is an independent timekeeper who does not work for any team or the NBA who signals for a ball to be drawn. So there are multiple people in the room while this process occurs. Now, the reason that this is probably so explicitly stated by the NBA is to avoid claims against rigging the lottery. You think about the frozen envelope, right? Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. There's a lot of speculation about the NBA draft lottery. So with time kept very clearly by an independent timekeeper, you would think that it would be very difficult to rig the lottery. After those 20 seconds, ball number 1 is drawn. Then there are 10 more seconds exactly of mixing. Ball number 2 is drawn. 10 more seconds of mixing after that. Ball number 3 is then drawn. 10 more seconds after that. Ball number 4 is drawn. You check the combinations, and in that order, ball 1, 2, 3, and 4, that would reward pick number 1 to the team with that combination. Now, if the null combo was drawn, you would repeat the entire process and for that draft selection. At that point, you would repeat the entire process, draw 1, wait a little bit, draw 2, wait a little bit, draw 3, wait a little bit, draw 4, wait 10 more seconds. 4 picks, 2 through 4. Remember, only the top 4 picks are done through the lottery. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. Make sure to comment down below right now. If you have any questions or comments or concerns about this, I will be answering all of those down in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next utility sports video.